our job is to make everyone who comes in at least 5% happier. And we deliver what has become, probably the biggest global membership club in the world.
Martin Kuczmarski is a hospitality entrepreneur best known for helping scale Soho House from a 4-location startup to a global lifestyle brand with over 60 venues and 120,000 members. Since stepping down from COO in 2022, he has launched high-end London restaurant The Dover and founded hospitality company Difficult Name.
And still today, people think hospitality is hard, and I disagree. It's not hard. If you make it hard, it's hard. Who said that chef needs to be rude? Who says that I have to be long hours? Who? Where's the book? No one. If your brain is thinking about money first, you are a wrong person for the job. Your job is to make someone else happier. Because the first question they asked me, said, how many times we need to turn this table to make money? I said, you're not part of the Dover. Go. But if you tell me, Martin, tonight I'm taking you to a Michelin star restaurant, I will gladly decline it. Because I think they're boring.
Is the Michelin guide a bit rigged?
I noticed that the old school hospitality slowly is disappearing. And I said, I think I have to do something about it. And that's why I opened the Dover.
The business grows, there are struggles along the way.
Sure.
What was the most challenging milestone of that journey? Martin, if I had a look at your CV, what would I see?
Good question. Good opening question. I think you will see a young, passionate guy who is in love in hospitality.
You were always in love with hospitality.
Always. I love people, and I think many people go into hospitality because they might love food, they might love service. They see it as a money-making career. I went into hospitality for one reason. I love making people happy. When I go home and I said, you know what, today I've made someone happier. If he's members of our team or a customer, I've done my job. So I think the happiness of others was always my priority, and hospitality is that for me.
Want to understand what led you to that mindset? Take me back to the beginnings, your youth. You're half Polish, half Italian, a child of divorced parents. How did this shape your personality?
Yeah, look, I was born in Poland. Long time ago. I'm 50. And my parents divorced. My mom moved to Italy, single mom. She got remarried with my stepfather, Italian. And at the age of 4, I moved to Italy. So I grew up, I studied in Italy. And when I was growing up, my stepfather always said to my mom, I said, this guy likes people. Look how good he is with people. He needs to be in hospitality. And my stepfather used to own a couple of restaurants in Tuscany. So he kind of tried to push me. He needs to go to catering school, hotel school, hospitality. And like my mom said, my son to be a waiter? No. My son to be a chef? No. He needs to be a doctor. He needs to be a tech guy. He needs to be a finance guy. He needs to be a surgeon, not a waiter. No. Anyway, my stepfather was very persuasive and he pushed me. So, I did catering school in Italy. I did all the studies in Italy. And that half Polish, half Italian blood, especially today, in hospitality, I think is a brilliant mix because, and I can say it because I'm both of them. Polish are quite direct, hardworking. There's no filters with Polish people. They're like, boom, straight in. They're very ambitious. So I think that really helps you to, as a base of, hardworking approach to hospitality. And then you have Italian, blood, and that Italian approach is a little bit more hello, hi, it's more glamorous, more friendly, more open, more easygoing. It's all about food, about being at the table. So I think the combination of both characters of the Polish Polish blood and Italian growing up, it really helped me in hospitality. The back of house on hospitality needs to be organized, needs to be structured, needs to be precise. But in the front, you have to put the theater on. You have to put a show on, and that show comes from the heart, from Italian hospitality. So I think that the background of having Polish Italian really helped me. And coming, you mentioned coming from divorced family. My mom, remarried, and when she moved to Italy, she was, a single mom. It just gave me more strength, more power, and a little of determination to succeed, to push forward, and not to look backwards.
Beautiful. A lot of people, they open a restaurant or they enter the hospitality industry because they want to pay usually either their bills, typically waiters or junior chefs, they do that. And some other people, they just think that they cook a great lasagna and they're going to try themselves in the market. In your case, you were good with people and you wanted to make people happy. At what age did you direct that into hospitality in particular?
So when I started studying catering school and hospitality in Italy, I was 16, 17. And in the summer holidays, all my mates, they used to go nightclubs, beach clubs, partying, dancing on the tables. And I was 16, 17. I said, okay, you guys go enjoy it. I was doing seasons. I was working.
In Italy?
In Italy, starting from, luxury hotels. My background is luxury hotels, 5-star and Michelin star, jacket and tie, shaved, twice a day. But when my mates were dancing and partying.
Sorry, 1 second. They asked you to shave twice a day?
I'll come back to that. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind.
That was the back of all days Michelin approach. You have to be sharp. I remember, and I come back to to my youth of 17 years. I remember I was working at Purcell Brothers in Montpellier, south of France, Michelin star, and I was at the bottom of my career. I was ironing tablecloths. The tablecloth needs to be perfect. So you iron on the top and you steam on the side of the tablecloth. And my mentor, and I've always been precise, I've always been well-groomed, I take care of myself. Especially in hospitality, you have to look apart. But in those days, and I'm talking to about 35 years ago, my mentor was coming to see me and I said, stand up, I was ironing. So I stand up, I said, show me your face. You look at me, and of course now I have beard and things change after I joined Soho House. And said, you shave, but can I test it? And he took a piece of paper when you take the order for the customer, and he was doing like, and if you could hear, I said, you haven't shaved properly, go back. But I always shaved. But anyway, so that was...
Were you happy in that environment, ironing tablecloths, having your boss telling you such a thing?
I was super happy for one reason. I was learning. And when I said that my friends and colleagues, they were dancing, enjoying summer, I was learning. All my career, even when I opened the Dover by end of 2023, any choice I've made is to learn. How can I learn? How can I absorb more from this world? And I'm strongly believer if you have this approach and you keep learning, things will happen in your life. So yeah, I was happy because I was not just learning how to iron tablecloth. I was a sponge. I was learning. I was ironing tablecloth, but with my eyes and ears and everything. I was looking around. I said, "Oh, this guy is doing this. This chef is chopping that carrot that way. That manager behaves like this. That leader speaks like this to the team." So I was hungry for knowledge, and that helped me who I am today.
To follow your passion, especially at such a young age, I think the parents' approval is important. You're 16, you're ironing tablecloths. Was your mom supportive?
My mom was very supportive. We came from normal family. I was lucky. I remember when I moved to London for the first time, and I left and I come back, and I used to live on the top of Hyde Park Hotel in Knightsbridge. That was before Mando Oriental. All days used to be Lord Forte Hotel. It was exclusive collection by Forte Hotels, before Rocco Forte Hotels. And so it was luxury hotel, 5-star. And our accommodation was quite luxurious because we had the best view. Accommodation inside was shit. Oh, I shouldn't say that, but
you can say whatever you want.
But no, we had this room, size of this space, and there was 3 of us in this space.
Wow.
Bathrooms were in the corridor, so you had to queue for your bathroom. But we were on the 9th floor of the Hyde Park Hotel, overlooking Hyde Park thing. So I was thinking, I couldn't take pictures, but you had maybe Polaroid at that time.
Yeah.
You didn't have the phone. I said to my mom, I said, look, I know I'm overlooking Hyde Park. But I remember my
How old were you?
I was 19, 20. And I remember my weekly wage was 19 pounds. And my contribution to the accommodation was 15 pounds. So I had nothing. So my mom and myself, they were helping me. They were helping there, but they were helping me just for that. They didn't help me. Okay, you want to go out? You have to earn. You have to save. But no, if you need help for your accommodation or to eat, we can help you. But I was never spoiled. I was always kind of put on the edge, even by my parents. I always knew that I can pick up the phone, I can write a letter to my mom, and she'll be there.
So you're 19 years old, you're following your passion, but you're making less than 20 pounds a week. Did you have any doubts at that moment? At some point, did you think, well, is this the right path for me because it's not paying well, even if you love it?
Did I? Yes, I had many doubts. But I knew that was career for me. If I fast forward a couple of years down the line, again, my friends and colleagues who I met during my career, I remember, when if they come to London or if I went to Italy on a holiday, we go out for dinner, and I was taking cash to put on the table, says counting how many Italian leaders I have. Some of my colleagues had American Express, platinum card already. I said, well, what's this? I said, can I see the card? I've never seen this card before. Because they have chosen their career path based on financial success. I'm gonna go to this hotel or to this restaurant, or because I've got so much tips, so I can get so much money. I always choose to learn and absorb as much as possible. I had many doubts. Am I gonna be successful? Can I reach what I want to reach? I never had doubts on hospitality. I always knew I love hospitality. I was the first one in this little room in Hyde Park Hotel to wake up and the last one to go to bed, because even if I finished shift, I was at the back of house observing what's happening in the evening in the restaurant. If the maitre d' was carving the beef or something, I was like, how does he carve? How does he looks? How he's dressed? So I was always really hungry to learn. So I had no doubts. I had no doubts on hospitality. I had doubts on my success. I had doubts, yes, of course.
Right. But how did you define success back then? It was definitely not financial.
No, I think success by then was progression. If I started ironing tablecloth and suddenly, I remember when I joined Hyde Park Hotel, after ironing tablecloths in south of France, my first job was to do toast melba. The toast melba, very thin, melba. And I was not allowed to go to front of house because I was not good enough. My manager, Metro D, said, look, you have to stay at the back, and if someone order smoked salmon, you have to do toast melba. And toast melba, you put the toast machine, then it comes, and then you have to cut the top and the bottom. And I remember I was so busy those days in Hyde Park. I was cutting so much that all my hands were cut here. But I said, you know what? 3 months ago, I was ironing tablecloths. Today, I'm cutting toast. Maybe tomorrow, I can be in the front. And I knew there was a progression. And so the doubts were disappearing because I always look on the progression. And after a couple of months, I moved to the front of house. I was carrying the trays. I didn't touch the table. I was not allowed to speak to the customer, but I was in front of the restaurant. And I was like, I feel proud. I had different uniforms. I had this white shirt and a black beautiful jacket, and I said, oh my God, I'm in the restaurant, with the tray. So I think progression was my success, and it was a very short success, because if I progressed one step, I think, okay, what's next? Now I'm carrying the tray. When I'll be able to take the order and speak to the customer. When I take the order and speak to the customer, when will I be able to manage the person who's taking the order? So I always seen the success as a next progression.
That's so interesting. I was having a conversation recently with my fiance about
Congratulations.
Purpose. Thank you. About purpose. And different people do different things for different reasons, but ultimately the common denominator that acts as a fuel for us to keep moving forward is purpose. It seems that in your case, purpose was related to progression and also very related to learning. And that was back then. Mm-hmm. If we fast forward to today, on your 50s, how does purpose...
Thank you for reminding me.
How does purpose...
I feel very young. Yes. Sorry.
How does purpose and success look like today for you?
They're two different things, but they link together, the purpose and success. Let me start with purpose. I think we are in this earth for a very short period of time, for a limited period of time. I call it, we borrow time. And I think that my purpose is, I always wanted to succeed in hospitality. I always wanted to be, even at a young age, I said one day I want to be at the top of the biggest hospitality organization. And my path was now from Four Seasons to Forte Hotels to Soho House to now to the Dover. And at Soho House I achieved that purpose. I want to be on the top of that line. And me and Nick, we are the drivers. So the purpose, is really in this short period of time that we are here on this earth, to really make a bend in hospitality. Because I love hospitality. This is the only thing I know. Ask me to do something else, I'll be useless. I will try, I will pretend that I'm good, but hospitality, this is what I love.
What do you mean by making a bend?
Example, we opened the Dover, yes, and because you used to have a restaurant on that street. And Mayfair has changed. And
we can have a dedicated episode about that, by the way.
I'm happy to join and say how bad it is. And which is strange. Mayfair, used to be an elegant, chic, part of
and
London.
It's unfortunate because it really started changing by the time he opened one of, in my opinion, the best restaurants in London, the Dover. It's just wrong timings in the wrong location, but the overall experience is fantastic. But continue.
And the band in hospitality. Look, you heard my little background. I've come from nothing, and I've achieved something. And still today, people think hospitality is hard, and I disagree. It's not hard. If you make it hard, it's hard. If you root in the kitchen, it's hard. If you aggressive to your team, it's hard. If you make your people, your team working 80 or 100 hours a week, it's hard. But doesn't have to be. Why? Who said that have to be? Who said that chef needs to be rude? Who said that have to be long hours? Who? Where's the book? No one. So when I opened the Dover, I said, I want all the team who works with me, not for me, with me, they have the life. If you want to be a podcaster, be podcaster. If you want to be a yoga teacher, be yoga teacher. If you want to be a model, be a model. If you want to be a photographer, be a photographer. Have different choices of your career, and will provide the timing that is suitable to you. I'm not going to tell you, you have to work this hours, this is a split shift, this is late shift, whatever. You tell me when can you work, and I'll adapt myself, because things change. And
do you think that's feasible at scale? Because perhaps with one restaurant it's feasible, but at scale with multiple sites, it's more challenging.
I think you can. And that's not. I think your question answered my bent in hospitality. And with Dover, with really micro space, we've made that bent because the success of the Dover. It's simple, it's very, very simple because, it's a small restaurant. We serve penna arrabbiata. We're not overpriced. We have nice service. We're kind. But people forget these things. And I think with the Dover, I wanted to go backwards. I wanted to look after people. And for me, people number one are our teams. So when we open, even today, I can tell you now, we are one of the best paying employers in London, without doubt. Before the service charge change in UK, we are the one who giving all the service charge. Service charge not mine. I'm not the owner service charge. Customer gives service charge. It's called service charge because you provide the service. So give it to the staff. Why 99% of the restaurant before the law change, they kept it to make the profit better? Completely wrong. So morally incorrect. So we are the first one to do that. We are the first one, to close 2 days a week. We are the first one maybe not to do too many lunches. We just only the evening service. So if you are a young guy who starts in hospitality, you can have your life during the day. So from members of staff, we made that little bend. From customer perspective, you've been to Mayfair, you have few restaurants. Everything that opens in Mayfair is like adding up. If you have black cod, someone's gonna have black cod with caviar. If someone have black cod with caviar, someone have black cod caviar.
With caviar on steroids.
Also, and maybe silver plate and white gloves. And what you did with the Dover, we went backwards. I said, let's be simple. Hospitality is not that difficult. People make it difficult. And hospitality is to make people happy. I remember when we were employing our teams, some of the staff who didn't succeed to be part of the team. Because the first question they asked me, said, how many times we need to turn this table to make money? I said, you're not part of the Dover. Go. If your brain is thinking about money first, of course it's not a charity. Of course it's economic. You are a wrong person for the job. Your job is to make someone else happier. And our brief at the Dover, even today, every day, tonight, I'm wearing this jacket, I'll be on the floor. We will be talking to our teams and we say, our job is to make everyone who comes in at least 5% happier. If you come already at the Dover happy, make sure that you make Alberto happy plus. Mm-hmm. If you come miserable, make sure that you make Alberto miserable minus. And it happened with the Dover. There's a lot of, we are the first one, New York Italian food existed since Prohibition era, and so we haven't reinvented our wheel. But suddenly, everyone is opening New York Italian in London. Okay, now it's New York and French. Okay, fine, whatever. So we've made that bend. But bend was really to improve the perception of hospitality. It was not, to win another award or to be in front of the, Times Magazine. That was not the purpose. Purpose was how me as a person who comes from very basic beginners, I can improve the perception of hospitality from members of the staff to the customer. And that was the purpose.
It's very interesting what you're saying. And I can identify myself for our company with similar values that you're applying in your business. And it's so interesting. But we landed to those conclusions because we were drawing from our strategy consulting experience. So I profoundly agree with you that the ultimate target, the ultimate goal is to have your customer happy. You need to provide an experience that makes the customer happy and have fun for a period of time. And depending on how your team is motivated or if they're happy or unhappy, that will dramatically impact the customer experience.
Correct.
And as you were mentioning, so perhaps someone is very financially motivated, so you might be the wrong person for the Dover. As we grew our company and now employing hundreds of people, we started to identify that each employee, obviously and naturally, they have different traits and different personalities. Obviously, we could not start putting in a big catalog all the different personalities that we believe that we need because it could be endless. But we needed to narrow it down into perhaps 2 different types of people based on what motivates them.
Yes.
So in the recruitment process, we have specific questions that will define this, and that will change the course of how you work with us, because we will motivate you in one aspect or another. So aspect number one is, are you intrinsically motivated? So perhaps you're here, and especially waiters that work in Mayfair, and if you're distributing the service charge and also the tips in Mayfair, they're quite higher than in other boroughs of London. They are extrinsically motivated, not intrinsically, meaning that they're there to make money, as much money as possible. Sure. If somebody else, another restaurant comes and pays them more, they will leave you. And then you have another group of employees, which unfortunately still in the hospitality space, there are less of this type of employees, which are intrinsically motivated. So like when you started learning about hospitality, they loved the industry, they wanted to learn, they wanted to grow from an internal point of view. So if you segment these two people, and this is something that we have clearly seen, and you give them what each of them want, because I don't think one is better than the other, but ultimately it's up to, let's say, the management to be able to give them what they need to perform at their best. Number one, the customer is going to feel that experience in a much more satisfactory way. And then number two, your rotation of staff becomes quite smaller, which, as you know very well, it's incredibly important for retention and training costs. Yes. and so on. Now, you have a combination of two types of experiences, which I find fascinating. On one hand, you have practical experience, five-star hotels, Michelin restaurants, being one of the toppest executives in the world's largest members club. But also you have academic experience, because you've attended Cornell University. Most of my friends, they can understand what a law degree will teach you, even if they're not lawyers. An engineering degree will teach you, or a medicine degree. But if I ask them, what do you think they will teach you in hospitality? They might not really know. They might think, oh, they're going to show you how to fold napkins. What would you tell them? What is it that they taught you?
Well, look, I went to Cornell, and my approach, and I come back to Cornell and learning at school or in academies, or I did the Academy of Trade and Tourism in Trento, which is North Italian Academy, and Cornell, of course. So look, when you go, let's say Cornell, one of the best top universities in the world, and huge in hospitality, really, really big in hospitality. You don't go to Cornell to show you how to do vodka martini. You don't go to Cornell, to teach you good manners. You have to have them. You have to know how to do vodka martini already. You have to have common sense. What Cornell teaches you, and depending how you approach, you have, first of all, you have an amazing lineup of teachers, people who do the lectures, people who actually are present in Cornell. So you as a person who attends Cornell, you have to be able to suck as much as possible information from their experiences. So it's not just, a teacher will come to the classroom and read a paragraph on hospitality. That should have been done in past, but especially Cornell, I remember when I went, and at that time I was working in New York at the Four Seasons Hotel, and I was traveling in and out, with rented car, little car in the Cornell campus. I got lost in the Cornell campus. I was looking, I said, where's the campus? I was like for 1 hour, and I was afraid to ask direction. At those times, you didn't have the Apple Maps or nothing. And I was for 1 hour, I was driving in the campus. And I said, fuck, sorry, swearing again. I opened the window. I said, excuse me, where's the Cornell University? And this lady passing by, probably one of the teachers, said, you are in the Cornell University. I said, oh, because it was huge. So I remember when I was at the Cornell, we on my training course, we had probably 30 people. People like me. And probably I was the most junior one. I remember I had, I was just kind of on management layer of my career, and I was sitting next to the CEO of McDonald's, of operating officer of McDonald's, and he was telling me, last week we did 250,000 covers. I said, oh my God, I'm struggling with 2 covers. And so you are surrounded by 30 high-level professionals, and I think during the break time when you have your tea or coffee or your lunch or just really a social activity, you draw, you learn from the experiences. That's number one. Number two, the teachers and the people who conducted the lecture, they were not just academic teachers. I remember there was a gentleman who used to be one of the youngest general manager of Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills, which I always like, oh my God, this is an icon. So now he was teaching about technicality of hospitality, but at the same time, he was giving real life example. And for me, studying hospitality needs to be mixed with practical things. I was never that person that, I need to study and just close myself and read the books. I wanted to read the book, but then put in practice or get something in practice and actually check if that happened in the history or something. So I think combination of both, being practical, being academic, and have people who live that experience before you. That's what you can learn from, especially from Cornell University. And Cornell takes all this academic and all these people from different backgrounds in one room. So I think that was the big success of Cornell.
Do you think you would have been as successful if you didn't study hospitality at university?
Good question. Make me think. Yes, I think I had to study because he opened my brain, he opened my mind, it challenged me. When I was at the Cornell, I told you earlier, I was the most junior one, and I was like, oh, I'm really behind the bus here. So it motivated me. It gave me discipline, but also it gave me a little bit of confidence. It's like, oh, I'm at the Cornell. I think studying is essential as long as combined with practical experience.
Did it help you also land better jobs?
Yes.
Let's talk about those better jobs. So as we've covered, you worked in various different Michelin star restaurants. And I think the average person imagines to an extent how a typical day in a Michelin star restaurant looks like, mainly because they probably have seen a TV show from Gordon Ramsay.
I was about to say.
Okay, describe me a normal day in a Michelin star restaurant. So you enter in the morning, and what happens?
Depending on the shift you're working, but no, you first of all, you wake up in the morning and you have to be grateful that you are awake. You have to be super groomed. You have to be clean, super groomed. So, it might sound quite pretentious, but you have to get ready. You have to look after yourself. You have to have haircut that, the hair doesn't go above your collar. You have to be shaved. You have to have manicure done. I mean, not manicure that you sit in some, nail salon, but no, take care of yourself. Have clean hands. Have your posture, your shoulders should be like this. So I think the morning preparation was essential before you actually walk in, because Michelin star has changed. I'm talking about 30 years ago, which was white tablecloth, candles, double-breasted jackets. Today, you can have Michelin star, there's no tablecloth. So there's different perception of Michelin star. But those times, Michelin star were like theater show. You had to be on the stage. So even before you open to the customer, you were already on the stage because your colleagues observe you, and your mentor observe you, your manager observe you, and you were spreading that attitude towards. So from the beginning, you had to be prepared. You have to be well groomed. You have to be clean. You have to have right attitude and be super professional and super focused. So you come in the morning, depending on what your job was.
Sounds like the military.
It was very big, kind of super precise, and I was always in front of house. And I remember when let's say the Purcell brothers in Montpellier, I start in the morning. First of all, I would check the restaurant, from the night before. Really, okay, is the restaurant has been cleaned properly, or the night cleaners, or our team who close the restaurant. So I'll make the list of the things. Oh, I noticed this is something missing here. Those cushions are not properly done. I see some breadcrumbs on the tables. So I make huge list. And then you had the list what you need to get ready for lunch service. How many cutlets do you need? How many glasses you need? And then you start ironing tablecloth. And but no, each tablecloth, I'm sure because you're in the same industry. Each tablecloth, when there's a line in the middle, had to face the entrance, because when the customer walks in, is at the side level. So I remember you putting the tablecloth in the way. Okay, is that the right direction of the tablecloth? So tablecloths were coming. First of all, you have to clean the restaurant, breadcrumbs, everything. Then you put the tablecloth in the right direction. Those times there were 3 tablecloths. At the Dover, we have 3 tablecloths. One is, to stop this. I know they told me not to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because there's no noise. So there was one tablecloth. Second tablecloth was a very long tablecloth all the way down. And those tablecloths in old days were made long. Especially in late 1800s, when the ladies had this big skirt, so when they sat, and they crossed legs, those tablecloths help to cover the ladies' legs, so a lady was never exposed. That was the history of long tablecloth. So you put your long tablecloth, and then you put the short tablecloth, which was the one that covers the stains, if it happens. But each of those had to be ironed, and you ironed on the top. And the one on the side was steamed. So once you've done this, then you start cleaning the cutlery. And in each partition of cutlery, okay, I need 54 forks, and I need 54 knives. And it was like cleaning with gloves, because they're all silver. You don't want to put any stains. Once you've done the cutlery, you start doing with the glasses. You change your gloves, because you're touching the silver, now you're touching the crystal. So it was a military operation. And once you finish preparation, you had your break. You recompose yourself. You change. You never been allowed. Today is allowed, which is strange. When you prepare the restaurant, you can be in your T-shirt. You can be in your private clothes. In old days, you had a uniform to prepare the restaurant, and then before the service start, you change to the kind of performance theater uniform. So now you go, you have your lunch first, you brush your teeth, you refresh yourself. I never smoked, so I had no problem with smoking. And then you change in your uniforms that you are in front of the customer. And then the service start, and before the service start is half an hour, daily pray. But pray in brackets, pray. It was not praying, but it was really organization, like militia service. Okay, Martin, you're doing this job and only this job. Like really specific, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's it. Another, Alberto, you're doing this job and only this job. And it was like ticking, it was incredible, really, really fantastic. But it was quite boring at the end, because had no much soul. And that's why I moved away from Michelin stars.
Fascinating. What does it take to get a Michelin star in this day and age?
A friend of mine used to be one of the oldest, one of the longest running CEO of Michelin stars. So, in the old days, it was not easy. You get this first star, for the quality of the food. The second star, is the food and approach and the service. And the third star, is just really innovation, service and food, and how you push the boundaries. I think today, which I think is a good thing, Michelin Guide has changed. You open up to more doors. You can see in specifically, let's say we live in London, there's a lot of Michelin restaurants that are they don't have tablecloth. You have young guys with tattoos and serving you with T-shirts, which is fine. World has changed, but I think you.
Do you agree with that change?
Do I agree with that change? I think I agree with evolution of Michelin star guide. But the way Michelin stars are given today, I don't agree. I think that they often they're done for good benefits, and to a lot of people they deserve it, and lots being given just because they've been given. So I think like everything in life needs to evolve. Everything needs to be up to date and evolve. But I think now probably things are changed probably a little bit too far. Yeah.
Is the Michelin guide a bit rigged? Can people have perhaps businesses bought Michelin stars or bribed people to get a Michelin star? Are you aware of that?
No, I don't think so. That's happening. And look, I grew up in Michelin stars. I work for Alain Ducasse in Monte Carlo and Pulsar Brothers. But if you tell me, Martin, tonight I'm taking you to a Michelin star restaurant, I will gladly decline it because I think they're boring. Most of them.
Yeah.
Most of them. Who wants to sit at the table with 12 courses, dinner, and 14 wines per? That you have no choice. Someone is telling you what to drink. I said, bugger off, I will go to Michelin star, I don't know, once every 2 years.
Yeah.
If someone forced me or invite me. Sometimes I go to Michelin star that, they got Michelin star. Oh, really? Gymkhana is a good example.
Yeah.
Gymkhana close to your ex-restaurant and close to the Dover. Fantastic. Really, I think one of the best restaurants in London, or one of my most favorite restaurants. They have Michelin stars with us, but they're not pretentious. The fun, the loud, the quality is amazing. The service is brilliant. They deserve it. So that Michelin star approach and attitude and evolution is perfect. Really fantastic. Those Michelin stars where you still have a little foam and smoke coming out, not for me. No, thank you. I would rather have my penna arrabbiata.
I agree with you. I
mean, you're Spanish. You rather prefer to have paella rather than some smoke coming from
100%. But I personally am happy with the direction that Michelin is moving towards too, because I believe that, going back to your analogy of you need to have good food for the first star, great service for the second, and innovation on the third. I think the definition of good food, good service, and innovation has expanded. So in the past, it used to be, as you were mentioning, very boring, very traditional, for a very particular type of customer, which was this very refined upper class. But right now, I think it's much more democratic and accessible, and I think that's good. But it's also interesting that this industry can give you so many funny memories and events. And I can only imagine you having worked in so many different fantastic places. You must have a lot of memories. So I want to ask you the funniest moment in any place that you've worked. It could have been with Alain Ducasse, it could have been at the Dover, your restaurant, or Soho House, or a hotel.
Well, I have lots of funny stories.
Give me two. I want the funniest and the craziest.
No, I'm not going to tell you anything. And I'll tell you why. Because I have lots of funny stories and lots of naughty stories. Because they happen. Hospitality is about social life, and of course I work in hotels, so I just remember all the stories, and some of them are quite naughty. And you see people in their kind of more vulnerable state, especially when they stay in a hotel, because they become their home, so they sleep, they have the shower, they get undressed and dressed. So there's many things happen, and if you know the stories, let's cancel this recording. I'll take you out for dinner and I'll tell you everything.
We're definitely doing that. And okay, question. So you mentioned naughty stories. Is there? Can you point me into the right direction? So, is there like a company that you worked for that has more naughty stories than others? So perhaps Soho House has more than Four Seasons.
Yes, I mean, look, Soho House, and I love my time at Soho House. I really loved it because I think before we start this interview, one of your questions was, my time with Nick and how we met, and it was a big change. I was coming from 5-star hotel, very strict, Michelin, shaving twice, jacket and tie, and suddenly, I met Nick on a social event. We start chatting. At that time, I was working at One Aldwych Hotel.
Nick Jones is the founder of Soho House, for those that don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then so I was working at One Aldwych Hotel, which was the first kind of 5-star contemporary hotel. That was before W hotels, before any of these hotels. There was 3 categories of hotels at this time. We had the Grand Palaces, the Claridges, the Reeds, the Dorchesters, and then you had Jan Schreger just open hotels in New York. The Morgan hotels, and and he was very avant-garde and amazing. I love Jan and what he achieved in hospitality. But there was nothing between. He was. I remember that his design was Philip Stark, very futuristic, and he reinvented the lobby. And then you had the Claridges, quite stiff, and there was nothing between. So One Aldwych was something between the two at the time when we opened in 1998. So it was 28 years ago, and. So I was at One Aldwych at that time. I met Nick socially. I was with like this, and Nick, t-shirt and a hoodie.
Randomly in a social environment.
Random social event. And I still live. I live in Maida, Little Venice. And at that time, Electric House opened.
Was that one of the first houses?
The first one was Soho House in Greek Street, and Electric was one of the 2 of number 3. Then when I was close by, I had no money, I didn't know anyone. Everyone talks about the Electric, I couldn't get in. So some of my friends, I'm a member of the Electric House. So I used to go. I said, that's interesting idea of hospitality, because it was very different what was existing then, from the design perspective to approach, to membership element. At that time, you had old school gentleman clubs or nothing.
This was in 2008.
Yeah. And of course, when Nick set up Soho House in 1995, that was really long time ago. So I met Nick on social event, and we become friends. We just because we love the same thing. We love making people happy, and through different journeys. Me slightly more structured, slightly more. Stiff, I would say, because 5-star hotel those time and Michelin were very stiff, and it was fun, whatever, but the purpose was the same, make someone else happier. And so we start talking to each other for a long time, we become friends, we used to date in brackets, used to go out for lunches, for dinners. And then suddenly Nick asked me, look, our members asking us to open more places around the world. Some of them, we had no bedrooms at that time. They're asking to open hotels. I have no experience. That's Nick. I have no experience in hotels. I've never done this before. You come from the hotel experience. Come to join me. And I said, really? Me double-breasted jacket and going to Soho House this time. But I was young. I was still young. And so I said, you know what? I'm gonna try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I can still change it. And I closed my eyes, I said, let's go for it. And it was very different. It was very different at the beginning because, yes, I come from very structured and very kind of stiff environment, precise. And Soho House was same purpose, but with different packages. The package Soho House was fun, was out of naughtiness, but purpose was always the same, to make a person in front of you happier. So yeah, that was the beginning of my career at Soho House.
Nick sold you his vision.
No, Nick inspired me by his vision. Nick had a vision, and vision was very simple. He wanted people who he knew and to be in one room having good time. He always said, I'm in the business of making someone happy, and probably my saying I want to make people happy, I've learned from Nick this, and we become very good friends until today. We meet once a week or every 2 weeks with a bottle of red wine, and we chat. So he hasn't sold me the vision. He inspired me by his vision, and I helped him to deliver that vision, because he was and I was and together we clicked and we delivered what has become probably the biggest global membership club in the world.
You certainly did. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned in that journey, Soho House journey?
Keep the focus on your core product. And I think that's the biggest lesson. Keep very laser focus on your core product, and make sure that you identify what's your core product and then stick to it.
That's I think such a great advice generally for entrepreneurs. And again, I was discussing this with my fiance the other day. We went for a walk and I was stressed, and she was like my sort of outlet to
We're
and my
discussing
safe
your
space.
wedding. That's why you're stressed.
That would do another whole episode.
You look at the camera, you worry she's looking at you.
So I'm telling her, baby, I feel a bit stressed, but I always deal good with complex work environments. But lately, I'm a very curious person, and I think I can relate to you and Nick in that regard. So if there's a new project that I'm very passionate about, even if it's not necessarily within the umbrella of my industry, I'm gonna go into it. So it could be AI, and my background is in computer science, but it could be within AI. Right now, the season 2 of our show, which is probably one of the most exciting things that I'm doing now. I'm writing a book, and then there was a new project that I wanted to onboard, and at some point, like, you can't, right? And going back to what's the core, maybe 1 or 2 cores, it would, I think, at least for me, help you see things with much more clarity.
Yes.
And just perform better at what you're doing. I would love to have multiple lives, because I think in one life I'd be a completely different person than what I am now. But as you said in the very beginning, life is finite. We have a limited amount of time on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And sometimes more means less. And it took me several mistakes to learn that lesson.
Yeah. I mean, I love reading about other people, professional successes, and I love kind of reading, psychology of people, and the older I get, the more no I keep saying.
The power of no.
And the power, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I can do it. I have resources. I'm invisible. I have determination. I can wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock I go to the gym, and I smash it." And I think, saying no has huge power in your capacity, in your brain. Today, what I do, and it has become a kind of routine by seeing how my body and brain react. I work all the time. I don't think this balance between work and life exists if you find the job that you love. If you find the job that you love, it's interconnected. So if you ask me how many hours you done last week, I said, I don't know. How many hours you're gonna do next week? I don't know. If you're on holiday, you're gonna switch off. Why? I stop breathing? No, I need to breathe. I need to eat. So I'm not gonna switch off. But you have to find what you love. And if you love, you'll never work for the rest of your life. If you find the job that you love, you never work for the rest of your life. And so just recently, a couple of months ago, I said, look, you know what? Monday, we have office, we have people, we have the team. I said, Monday is day for myself. Yeah, I work, of course, but I don't want any meetings. I don't want any commitments.
I do that on Fridays. I love hearing this.
Yeah, and
which is good because it extends a bit, the weekend.
The weekend, yes.
Mentally speaking, you're still working.
Yeah,
but no meetings.
Yeah, and actually, you are in control of your day. Yeah, if I want to wake up and play tennis, I play tennis. If I want to pick up the phone because something creative happens in my brain to my team, I say, look, I think we should do next session like this. It just comes naturally. And if I want to do nothing at 2 o'clock and have long lunch with bottle of rosé, I can do that. But this time for yourself, which you're still active, you're still working, it opens your brain incredibly, and it gives you space to think, it gives you space to reflect, and the most important thing, it allows you to work on the business, not inside the business, which I think many people make mistake. They just go, oh, look how many hours I've done. And You should really step back a little bit and look at overall situation, but not only from the business perspective, for your life, for your health. If you're healthy, if you're happy at home, if you're happy with your relationship, if you're happy with your family and friends and colleagues, it will have repercussion to your professional life and vice versa. And I think that day a week, it's only one day a week, working day a week, which is 100% controlled by you. If someone calls me and says, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you," on Tuesday I'll pick it up. Hello, I want to be in control on that day. And I think the power of no is, I can see on my mental health, on my psychology, on my effectiveness. I have become more effective by saying no and not saying yes. And it's incredible how that changed my life.
Absolutely. I think this is, for example, a great lesson that one can learn in life. A very important one. But I think ultimately yourself or anybody else won't arrive to these conclusions and won't learn these lessons if they don't make mistakes, right? I'm pretty sure, and I am guessing here, that you've learned this by doing the opposite, right? And a lot of people have a very unhealthy relationship with failure, and they try to avoid it and always play it safe. And in my opinion, you will learn nothing by following that approach.
I agree.
You should not obviously always constantly be failing. Don't try to make the same mistake twice. But first time mistakes, you can have as many as you want, both in your personal and professional life, because that's what's going to help you build up a more resilient personality and learn and reach these conclusions.
Yes, I agree.
In 2023, you became an entrepreneur and opened a restaurant, a fantastic restaurant in London called The Dover. Why did you do this?
Look, when I left Soho House, I took some time off. I said, look, I need some not relaxing, because I was relaxed, but a little bit of decompression, just to really understand what's my next chapter. And my wife told me, this is not your next chapter, this is your new book. Chapter is the same part of the book. So you're writing a new book. And so I went traveling. I did some of the trip by myself. I went kite surfing, diving, and then my family joined me. And I needed some space to think. And then I love hospitality. I love restaurants. I love food and drinks. I feel good when I'm surrounded by people and tables and chairs. I feel good. And through my 30 years of experience, I have seen many brands, many hotels, many restaurants opening. And when I come back to London, I said, you know what? I will still work. I have to work. I want to work. My brain is still agile. I still have a lot of determination, and the battery is still full. I think. I think the battery is still full. So and I will be doing something in hospitality. But during this time off, I've done kind of a deal, a contract with myself, and based on a couple of criteria. And criteria number one, or the contract number one, was I'll never work for anyone else. And we always have bosses. If you have investor, if you're a partner, if you have a bank, those are your bosses, but not as a corporation. I've done big corporation, I've done big companies. I said, I don't want to work for anyone else. So that was path number one. I said, number two, I said, I don't want to be consultant. And there are some great consultant and some okay consultant. And for me, in my view, it might be wrong view, but that's my view, which is very close to me. I don't want to be consultant, because I thought that consultants, they go out, they finger point, this, do that, this is bad, they take the money and they bugger off, And I'm the person who, if I do something, I give everything. I give my heart, I give my brain, I give my skin, I give my name. I can't go halfway through. I have to go in. So I said, I don't want to be consultant, no matter how much money you pay me. And it happened. A lot of people call me, oh, Martin, can you help us in this? We pay you this. I said, no, thank you.
You declined big offers?
Huge offers. Huge offers. Someone asked me, I said, I Google, I knew your salary at Soho House, because public companies was all there. I said, I'll pay you double. I said, I don't want it. I said, why? Because you're not a nice person. I don't care, So number two, so I don't want to be consultant. I said, number three, whenever I do, if it's small or that big or square or round, whatever shape, I want to make sure that you as a customer and me as a creator, when you walk in, you have goosebumps. I want to say, ooh, I feel good here. There's something special. There's something with substance that just give you goosebumps. Like, ooh, something beautiful, but not beautiful as to look at, because I think could be. It is quite pretentious, but beautiful as a substance. So that whenever I create, whenever I do, you have to give you goosebumps. And the last one, I want to give back. How many bottles of Tinanello you can drink? How many nice watches you can have? How many nice suits you can have? How many nice cars? I mean, there's a limit, yes. And I said at the beginning of this interview or middle that we are here for very short period of time. And if my family has a fridge, not full, but with food inside they can eat, they have roof above their heads and they're healthy, I don't need anything else. I'm happy. I'm not gonna fly private jets and a yacht in Portofino somewhere. That's not me. So I want to give back, and we're helping already a lot of other people through different channels or through silent investing, mentoring for free, some charities, but not charities, just a Red Cross, and there are different purposes to give away, and giving doesn't mean giving away your money, giving away your time. I'm giving you my time today, for free. You're not paying me for this, and if you had to pay me, I would not accept it, because I respect you, what you've done in your career. I respect what you're doing now. You're young and you're incredibly smart, and I'm giving you my time. So in my mind, I'm helping you. I hope.
Thank you.
I'm helping you, and hope you're gonna have more subscribers. Yes.
Yes.
And so those are kind of my principle. And then when I come back to London, I observe, and this is everywhere. LA, New York, Paris, big cities. You will travel, you've seen it. And I observe that there are three categories of restaurants today opening around the world. This is a big statement, and this is, again, my view and my opinion. I call them, you have one part of the restaurant, I call them East. So anything that opens in East London or Meatpacking District in New York or downtown LA, if I tell you, describe me a restaurant that opened in East London or downtown LA, you will say exposed brickwork, exposed kitchen, young guys, plenty of tattoos, loud music. Yes?
Yeah.
We got it. So you can already imagine what kind of restaurant is this, Then you have, I call them the big machine. Yeah? And big machines are, Zuma, Hakkasan, Gaia, big corporation, and you can name many of those companies, big corporation, and they're all good. I'm not saying they're bad. They're all good, but there's a category of them. Yeah. So you got the East one, you got the big machine, and then you have, I call them big and loud. The bigger they are, and the louder they are, and louder. For me, loudness is the noise. How loud they are. You walk in and there's DJ, boom, boom, boom. You can have the conversation. Loud, they are in design and the look. So very arrogant and very oppressive as a look and feels. And loud as an attitude. Those kind of restaurants that if you have yellow, horrible Lamborghini, you get a better table,
There's one very well known in the same street of your restaurant.
For the next episode, we can talk about Mayfair, yes. But you know what I mean. So I said, you know what? And me coming back from old school, traditional, I noticed that the old school hospitality slowly is disappearing. And in a big thing, And I said, I think I have to do something about it. I said, where's the tablecloth gone? There's no more tablecloths in the restaurants. I'm making big point. Of course, there's tablecloth, but there's many people that don't put tablecloth anymore. Where is the real candle on the table? They put these battery-operated lamps now, which are disgusting. Where's the real candle? Where are the free tablecloths? To hide everything else and not to make noise. In old days, the tablecloth were thick, so when you sat like this, that was your etiquette sitting like this, it was good for your bones. Where's the waiting staff wearing proper jacket? And so I was like, what's happening with hospitality? I have to do something about it. And also, if you look at all these 3 segments of the restaurant, if you really think, they all look very similar. Yeah, because you had one designer working for a big design studio, and most of them, and so those people design most of the restaurants around the world. Yes, and then someone used to work for the studio. I said, oh, I opened my own studio, but the blood is the person from that studio. So you start noticing, I have seen this table before, I have seen this sofa before, I have seen this plant somewhere, this looks familiar. And so I was fed up of seeing the same thing, and everyone is trying really hard to move forward, just reinvented something which doesn't have to be invented, have to be evolved, but not reinvented. And that's why I said I have to do something about it. And that's why I opened the Dover. And the Dover is designed by, they become very good friends of mine, 2 guys from Milan called Queen Coaches and Drago, Fanny and David. They she's Norwegian, Italian, he's Spanish. And I walk in the studio, someone else introduced me to them for completely different reasons. I was not there looking for designers. I had very clear idea what I wanted, and I had clear vision of how the restaurant should look like. Even though I'm not designer, but I have good eye, I think. I have good eye, and I know what people like. I feel in my instinct what people like. And I walk in the studio with a friend of mine, is in Milan, and I look at the studio around. I said, this is nice. I said, I like the studio. Can I see the owners? And so the owners came, both Fanny and David. And I, like this in the reception, I said, hi, my name is Martin, blah, blah. And this gentleman was looking something for his private home. And I instantly, I said, can I ask you a couple of questions? And Fanny, Norwegian, quite precise. I said, yes, go. I said, have you designed a restaurant before? And they said, no. I said, yes. Have you designed a bar before? No. Yes. Have you designed anything in hospitality? Yes, but not as relevant as many things happen, because our studio is more residential and product driven rather than hospitality. I said, great. I said, would you like to work with me? And Fanny looked at me, you fucking mad. Who are you? And I said, well, you're right. Let me introduce myself. So I introduced myself, and she went, you are mad. We're going to work together. And day after, I flew them over to London. I explained my vision, and they have, deliver my vision, higher than expectation I had. And the vision was, keep it simple, but beautiful. Keep it warm. Keep it with substance. I don't want any sense of arrogance. I don't want anything to be overcomplicated. And simplicity is difficult. To achieve simplicity with style, I think is the most difficult thing. And so that's why we did the Dover. And when we launched the Dover, I was also fed up of how restaurants today are being launched. Everyone launched, with some influencer. I don't have my phone on me, but that's the phone. So, ooh, look at me, Then I know with big light, lights like this. Oh, look at me, and oh, Jesus, okay, why should I look at you? And they're very, very loud. And it's all about, the phone. Again, life has changed, but I haven't found the app that you can taste martini on the phone. Can you? I don't know. Can you drink it? Can you have penna arrabbiata from the phone and smell it, how spicy it is? You can't. Can you feel your heart going up through the screen? I don't think so. You can. So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna do anything about it. I will do one thing, which is a very difficult thing, and I was. I emotionally I cried. I cried, and I was super nervous because that was me. And being an entrepreneur, you're alone. It was me in the mirror. I was talking to myself, and I said, "This is how I'm gonna go launch a restaurant." And I said, "Oh, how are they gonna know about it?" I said, "Well, I'll invite a few people. We know people, I'll invite, but I have to do brilliant job, not good job, brilliant job. Because if I do brilliant job, people will come back. People will talk. And these people are becoming my influencer. And I don't have to pay them. And I don't have to be in your face, But those big risk. And I remember, day before, I said, I think I'm making a big mistake here. Because, I opened the door, actually the curtain, at the door we have this beautiful curtain. I said, I just open the curtain and hope for the best. As long the food is fantastic, it's well priced, the design is amazing, the service is kind, the service is efficient. Everyone must say yes, and then figure out how to do it. And if I do that, and people like it, they will come back. Full stop. Simple.
I was having a discussion very recently with a friend of mine. He's the founder of a company called Big Mama Group, which is quite successful.
Oh, Victor.
Yeah. I was speaking with Victor, and it's a successful Italian cuisine restaurant group, and they've just did quite a substantial exit for over 200 million. And I asked him this precise question: what does it take to build a successful restaurant? And he said, look, you can discuss and you can put all the fluffy and nice things, about human resources, incentive programs, marketing, this and that, but it all comes down to one thing. If for the price that you are operating in, right? So it could be mid-tier, entry-level, or super fine dining. You're the best one at that, people will come back. So for the price that you're paying, is this the best food possible? Is this the best design possible? And is this also the best service possible? People will come back.
Absolutely.
That's it. And quoting your same words, and he also used the same words. It's interesting because perhaps people in the hospitality space, they swear more than in other industries. He said, if you open a fucking good restaurant, it will work, period.
Yes. Yeah, and a lot, I go back to this because I'm really passionate about a lot of people. I see. People ask me for help, and I say, you know what? I have time. I'll go to see, and they sit at the table, do layout of the tables, and said, I can squeeze one more table there in that corner. That table multiply by average spend, 50 to 100 pounds per person, multiply by 360 days a year, that gives me $250,000. I said, oh my God. Yeah, this is how you think about the restaurant business. Of course, restaurant business is a business, like anything. It's not a charity. You have to work. You have to have money to pay the rent, the staff, the economy has to move. But the approach have to be always building the best product possible, the best service possible. And if you do the best product, the best service, the best restaurant in your own capacity, everything else will walk away.
I agree.
Yeah, and then when you have top line, and top line comes from a good product, then the money comes down, and then you tweak it. Okay, I'm spending too much on food, I'm spending maybe too little on drinks, maybe I'm overpaying my rent, maybe this, so you can tweak it. But if your top line is shit, there's nothing to tweak on. Sorry.
The way I summarize that is that the hospitality industry is where both art and business can coexist. So if you're more on the artsy side, which is in this case perhaps your Michelin star restaurants, financially perhaps the restaurant won't be performing as well. But if you're too business oriented, too corporate, too logical,
correct,
you're not going to have, as you're mentioning, that top line. People are not going to come. So I think if you're able to find that sweet spot in which art and business can coexist, is where real hospitality and magic can happen. You've opened many restaurants globally in so many different countries for very big companies. But when you open your restaurant, you decide to do it in London. Why?
Well, I live in London. That's my home. My family is here. I know London pretty well. I'm a control freak, so I can be there and check if Penna Arrabbiata has the right tomato sauce. And I saw London declining as a restaurant offering, and I said I have to do something about it. I have to, in a small part, Dover is small, 60 covers restaurant, full every night, fun, we're super happy. But in a small microclimate, can I make a change? Can I show that you don't have to be everything what I said before? That you can be simple and successful, that you can be quiet, not loud on social media, and it can be successful. You can be well priced and it can be profitable. You can serve Penna Arrabbiata and people will love it. So I choose London because It's my city. I know it. I can keep an eye. It's my name on the tin. It's just I'm the face of it. It's mine. And I wanted to help London to go back what London used to be, which I think is coming back. London is going through, or UK is going through challenges at the moment. I think we reach the bottom and slowly it's coming back. But it needs people like us. You young entrepreneur. You've done many things in London, but it needs people to push it, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to do in London. Yeah.
Has the journey as an entrepreneur been as you expected so far?
Probably not as I expected, because I had no expectation. I had, of course, before I worked with big companies, so I had big machine behind me, big structure, which I built. And here, when you're an entrepreneur, you're alone. So I didn't know what does it mean to be alone, And when I was designing, let's say, the Dover, and I remember, I came home and I didn't talk about it to anyone. No social media, no press, no nothing. And I said, I'm a strong believer that action speak louder than words. Let me open first, and then the restaurant will talk. I don't want to talk. I can't say penna arrabbiata is fantastic. The customer needs to say it. I can say penna arrabbiata I think is nice, but I won't say Alberto, come to me because I know I have the best steak in town. I can't say. I said I have the steak. You have to judge it. So I strongly believe action speaks louder than words. And when I was designing the restaurant with Queen Coaches and Dragon, we had the mood boards. You design few restaurants. And I went home and I asked my wife Ruby. I said, "What do you think?" And she's amazing. She got amazing style and panache, but she can't read the floor plans. She can't understand the layouts, and she can't imagine. And she looked at this and says, "Well, I can't help you." I said, "Thanks, that's very helpful." And she went, "I will tell you what's wrong when it's open." I said, "That's too long. That'll be too late."
Yeah.
So being entrepreneur, I wake up in the morning and you go in front of the mirror and you talk to yourself. And so I didn't know what to expect, to answer to your question. But being or have become an entrepreneur, you really realize that you're alone in that game, and if you believe what you're about to do, stick to it, and don't give up. But you need to be passionate about it. You have to have huge passion and strongly believe that is the right thing to do, and just go for it.
Even if the Dover right now is very successful, I'm pretty sure that there are moments of doubt, and you need to go back to that mirror and talk to yourself. What do you tell yourself in those days?
How can Dover stay relevant? Because I don't want to change the menu every 2 minutes. I'm not gonna repaint the walls every 5 minutes. I'm not going to change staff uniforms every 3 months. So how, in 3 years' time, how can Dover be relevant? So I'm asking myself that question, and I don't have the answer yet. Even though today Dover has been described instant classic in London, because it is classic. It's nothing pretentious, it's just classic. And maybe that relevance is to maintain the consistency. And I think a lot of restaurants around the world, the most difficult part in the restaurant business, is consistency. And I think maybe the relevance of the Dover will be the consistency. In 5 years' time, you might say, let's go to the Dover because I'm going to have that martini because 5 years ago it was exactly the same. I'm going to go and have spaghetti meatballs, it's exactly the same. So already, without looking the menu, because it has been open, let's say, for 5 years, if you fast forward, I'm going to go because it's consistent, it's good, it never lets you down. So maybe that's the relevance. So, but I'm still questioning myself.
Interesting. I've also navigated that question, and I've identified 2 answers that came from 2 different experts that I find very valid answers. So the first one is coming from probably one of the world's best restaurant designers. And he told me, look, Alberto, the clients that come back to me the least for new designs are the ones in which we've built a restaurant that feels like it was always been there. When you open it, it feels, as you said, as a classic.
Yeah.
You're not opening something new, something super shiny that after 2 years it's already going to look old. You open something that gives you the feeling of an institution. It's always been there. And I agree with that. And then the second person is the owner of a private equity that owns some of the best restaurants in the world. And he has the thumb on the pulse to understand which restaurants and why are they performing better than others and which ones don't need to change on their institutions. And he said that if you're a restaurant that you are predominantly known for the experience, so to see and be seen, and for the party scene, those type of clientele, they're not loyal because they follow a trend. And a trend by definition has a beginning and
I call
end.
them travelers. They
Exactly.
travel.
So you won't be able to build a legacy and institutional brand, not even a restaurant brand, based on those clientele. So those are, I think, two very valid points that I'm not sure if you've considered, but this is something that I think they're incredibly, incredibly valid. And both from a business perspective, I can see them, but also from a customer point of view, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Well, look, we've been very lucky at the Dover. 70% of our customers today, after 2 years being open, are regulars. And it has become, maybe because of my background, but the Dover has become, I call it, public members club. There's no membership. There's no, you can come in. It's open to everyone. It's very democratic. But it has become like a members club, a public members club. You walk in, and if your table is at the end of the room, it's gonna take you 10 minutes to walk because every second table, someone said, "Hi, how are you?" And I love to see that. I love see people standing up and giving a hug. "Oh, how are you?" Have a chat and saying, "Okay, I'm gonna have my meal now." So I'm super proud that we have achieved that, regular customer base. Yeah.
Martin, what is your relationship with failure?
Do we have another half an hour? I think a lot of people, and I go back to myself, a lot of people say, "Oh, we love failure because you learn," and a lot of people avoid failure. I think I have many emotions about failure. I'm afraid of failure. Let's be honest. No one likes to fail. Regardless if you say, "Oh, you learn," fine, but I still failed. So I'm afraid of failure. I respect failure. I try to learn from failure. I will try to avoid failure. I will run away from failure. But in professional, and we're talking about professional, in a professional sphere of life, failure is good. Failure, we're not, especially in hospitality, we're not saving lives. We're not doing jobs or that are, I'm not surgeon, I'm not, working with someone else's life. Actually, I'm giving you food and drink. So it's not rocket science. So I think in hospitality, even though I'm all of these things, I'm afraid, I try to avoid and run away from the failure. When it comes, I have to accept it. So, my relationship with okay, come on, sit down next to me. So tell me, where did I fuck up? Sorry, again, swearing. Where did I make mistake? Come on, sit down with me. I'll avoid it. I will run away. But when it happens, I will confront it. And come on, slap me more. Give me another punch like boxing ring. But tell me where did I make that mistake? And I will try. The answer already. I will try to learn it. I will try to absorb. I will be very good listener. But the most important thing, I will confront it. I said, "Come on, be in the face of me, face me." But it's not. Yeah. It's not easy. Especially, we all have egos. All have ego, and if someone says, "Oh, I like failure," I think it's bullshit. No one likes failure. And you want to be successful in life, in professional life, and success can be defined in many ways. But if it happens, you have to confront it. You have to confront it. You have to make your best friend. You know, the failure have to be your best friend. You know, avoid it to start with, but if it happens, make your best friend.
If you could go back and speak with your 20-year-old self and give him an advice, what would you advise him?
I'll give two advices. One, trust your gut. You know, I only listen to my gut and my instinct, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. You know, before I was maybe that Polish part in my brain kicks in. I was very analytical, you know, tutum. And only probably 10 years ago, I learned, which is very difficult, to listen to your instinct, to your gut. You know, you feel something, and then your analytical brain kicks in, and you said, I'm thinking through, I'm adding up. This is better than this, and actually, this is better. That's why it's called the instinct. So, you know, trust your instinct. And second, I would say, you know, my advice will be, find the job that you really, really love. And if you do that, you'll never work for the rest of your life.
What would you advise to someone that wants to open a restaurant for the first time?
There's many things I will advise. One, don't overcomplicate it. You know, just keep it simple. And make sure that if you have partners, that the partners have the same vision as you, because that's at the end be your name on it. You're smiling, you might know. And you know, if you opening the restaurant and you want green glass, make sure that your partner has the same style. Because if the partner likes yellow glass, there'll be a problem down the line. So make sure that if you have partner with you, that the partner share and believes in your vision. Make sure that you make every decision that are only beneficial to the customer and to your members of the team. If the decision is bad for the customer or for your member of your team, is a bad decision. So every decision has to be for the benefit of the customer.
You've shared previously your definition of success. Would you say you're successful?
Yes, depending how you describe success.
Describe it to me based on your acceptance and your affirmation of being successful.
Look, success, I will split success. Yes, I consider myself successful. And I will split success in two parts, professional and personal. Personal, I have an amazing family. You know, I wake up in the morning and I'm alive. I can move my hands. I can talk. I'm healthy. I have beautiful home. A home for me is not physical home. Home is my wife, my mom, my family. That's, you know, my friends. I have people that I love, and they love me back. You know, small group, but it's tight group. So, in that perspective, I feel personally very, very successful. Professionally, I consider myself successful because every day I wake up and I'm happy what I do. I enjoy what I do. Every task that is in front of me, I do it with smile. I do it with passion, enjoyment, and that's for me success. You know, and I think if you have that, the financial success, if that's the question, it will follow. So I've considered myself lucky and successful professional because I do what I love. I find what I love, and I do that every day.
Are you happy?
Super happy.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for your honesty. And there are two things that I really appreciate from your journey and from your story. One of them we were discussing right before starting the conversation, the interview. A lot of people that go through a lengthy corporate career, they get exposed to how business looks like, the complexities of the competitive landscape, the ever constantly evolving customer taste and preferences, the also dynamic cost structures, And just by being exposed to all of these different complexities for an extended period of time, many years, it becomes harder for a person to logically make the decision of starting a business, because you really have a good understanding of the level of risk that you're taking. If you compare this to a young entrepreneur, that's why I very much I'm a supporter of young entrepreneurs. A lot of people start a business in their 20s or their 30s because they don't see the problems, even though they're there, because they have not been exposed to other problems in the past of similar nature. So hence, if you have never experienced it, you will experience it not through the lenses of a bigger corporation that you're working for, but through your own company. And hence, that's why they start. So I very much appreciate your level of courageousness. You're a very brave person. And that's something that I find very interesting and fascinating. And the second point is that right now, in your 50s, you're still in a stage in your life in which you're constantly trying to understand who is it that you are. And based on that, you're making every decision at a personal and professional level to fit back into your happiness, your personal happiness. You don't have a general definition of success or a general definition of happiness. A lot of people, the ones that become entrepreneurs after a long corporate experience, they feel like they now want to milk the cow. So I build up my name, my reputation. I know the tricks in the book. I'm going to start a business and start making tons of money. That was not your case. You just wanted to build something that is small, that you can control, that you can enjoy, and that would give you those goosebumps in the same way that you want to give them to the client. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate for showing us that success can have, again, another shape and another definition. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much. Good chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.